What's up everyone, Michael here with another vlog thing. I kind of didn't have a video set up for today, and everything else that I need kind of needs a little bit more editing than I'm awake for. I'm super freaking tired, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get this on my chest. I'm gonna talk about daily logins, because I've been thinking about AAA games and why I've kind of fallen out of favor of them, and one of those reasons comes down to just the amount of time they expect you to spend on them. However, there's also another key component to spending time that I kind of want to talk about today, because I'm gonna do a full thing about the whole, not being into AAA games anymore, because Jesus, is that a huge topic that I can just go on forever, because there's so many problems with the AAA games market right now, especially in the US, and Japan really isn't affected as much by it, but it's still kind of unfortunate to see all these companies kind of going in these weird kind of routes. But yeah, I want to talk about the daily login. Game in the background is Phantasy Portable 2. I already had it running and I knew it would capture, and so that's why I'm playing in the background. I'm being super lazy for this video, so I apologize if it's not very good. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the daily login. If you don't know what a daily login is, basically there's a lot of games these days, and it used to be just free-to-play games for the most part, but it kind of became more and more common with all types of games, to where it was just every time you log in for the day, it would give you a small reward. And you may be thinking, all right, so why do you hate them? Why do you think they suck? Well, it's not necessarily what you get from them. I actually like the idea of getting stuff for logging in every day. It's the expectation that comes along with it. And more games have been kind of making it almost mandatory for maybe not progress, but kind of like getting what you want, for example. So there's actually games to where these kind of daily logins will give you special rewards that you can only get through either, like, let's say paying extra money, or through getting with the daily login. It's like, oh, hey, well, if you want this, which is going to be, needed to be competitive or whatever, mainly talking about mobile games, you'll end up seeing, this daily login thing all of a sudden becomes extremely mandatory. One of the games I used to play, which I kind of quit because they introduced a character that you actually had to pay to unlock and everything, and I was super not cool with that, because that goes into a whole bunch of balance issues, and they were already getting too grindy for me, so I just kind of abandoned the game to begin with. But I was playing Monster Super League, which is a mobile game, and it's a collection RPG, and so basically you collect a bunch of different monsters, and most of them are human-like, but regardless, you collect a bunch of monsters. But basically, there was this thing called a Holy Gleam, and what this Holy Gleam would do was it basically allowed you to evolve any character whatsoever. And so by having these, you were able to make it so that you didn't have to find duplicates of certain characters. Now, to a certain point, you need these Holy Gleams because you are going to be getting so many new characters, especially through all the events that they ended up doing. They would do a new event every single month, but you needed 3 Holy Gleams to evolve that single mon that you would get every single month, and that was assuming that you were able to collect, like, a bunch of others of these. And so what ended up happening is that daily login became mandatory. It was no longer a thing of like, oh, I can just skip it if I really want to. It's just going to take more time. No, like, it became, if I wanted to keep enjoying the game from my pace, it became mandatory, which super sucked. Now, not all games are like that. I know Phantasy Star Online 2, for example, which isn't the game in the background. That one's like a whole other MMO. I could have played that one, but I don't think I updated it. Basically, they made it so that the daily logins are actually quite nice, where they just give you little boosters and stuff like that. Stuff that you can literally collect with EX cubes, which is something you can earn in-game very easily. And they don't have anything that's like required for progress or anything. They just give you like small boosters and things, which is super nice. And that game throws boosters at you like crazy. And that's awesome. They give you something for just logging in every day. And then there's games like Black Desert, however, which basically they add really nice rewards to this stuff. And one of them will end up being like a pet, for example, which normally is something you got to pay for. And so it's like, oh, hey, if you want this, wow, I just died. If you want this, I got super stunlocked. Then that means you have to log in every single day, and having those pets and stuff ends up being kind of almost mandatory to stay competitive at the high level. Now, thankfully, I'm not high level in that, and I just don't really bother with it anymore. The game takes so much time to begin with. But it kind of just makes me feel sour towards this whole thing that really shouldn't be making me sour. It should be one of those cases to where you see the daily login and you're like, get excited for it. You're like, oh, hey, maybe I want this. Maybe it's something that's like, oh, hey, I want to go and collect this. And, it should feel rewarding. But instead, they just make it so that it feels like it's demanding your time. And with so many games these days, I play a lot of different games. And you can just see on this channel alone, I kind of joke with myself every once in a while. It's like, oh man, I never have any games. God damn it. I just always joke with myself that I never have any games to play. And it's just like, I actually do. And I actually play a huge variety of games on the channel alone. And behind these topic videos and stuff like that is generally like the same kind of set of types of games, just because I try to find games where I can just kind of zone out and not really worry about anything. And so games like this to where I'm just going to die repeatedly, apparently, and just keep going to different areas just to make it interesting, I guess. But yeah, it's just having so many games requires so much time, and having so many like require daily logins, and maybe not require, maybe that's the wrong word for it, because people are still going to argue, oh, they're not mandatory, whatever, or maybe I don't want to be competitive, I don't really care then. It's just the idea that it just, every single game has a daily login now, it feels like, and there's even like single player games I've seen that have daily logins, and I'm like, why? Why do you have this? There was Sonic Forces, for example, and so Sonic Forces actually had not a daily login, but it had like a daily mission. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. And it just gave you a little bit of boosted experience. But I'm still thinking, why? And it's just, it doesn't need to be there. And people are going to once again argue, it's like, oh yeah, it's just, you know, it's just there for people that want it. It's just a little tiny booster or whatever. Why not make it so I can get that booster other ways? Maybe make it so I can get that booster multiple times in a day. Why not make it part of the actual game itself, rather than just making it like a, hey, you should log in every day and play our game every day of your life, because if you do, you'll get these boosters and they're going to be there every single day. I don't want to log into your freaking game every day. I don't want to play your game every single day. And even games that I enjoy the living hell out of, let's say League of Legends or Black Desert, for example, I freaking love those games. They're some of my favorite games of all time. Or the game in the background, Phantasy Star Portable 2. I love this game. This game doesn't have a daily login, but I log into it almost every day. And that's mostly because I have it on my phone, and so I play it on my phone on my way to my day job. But regardless, it's, you know, I don't know why, but just like the daily login sucks. There's something about having a thing that says, hey, you should log in every single day, that makes it feel mandatory. It's just like, I don't want to log in every day. And it just feels, not only does it feel bad when you miss one, but it can just suck outright. Let's say there's a special item in there that you really, really want or something. And it's like, oh, hey, I really want this. Or maybe you're just like, oh man, that booster would have been really nice. It just sucks for people that can't always get it. And sure, it's a nice little reward for people that can log in every day. And I think it's actually really good to do that. But I wish there was more alternatives. Now, I did talk a little bit bashingly on Black Desert earlier. However, they do have some catch-up mechanics. And so on the weekend, if you log in, they have, you know, they have like boosted experience and stuff like that. So you can end up getting through the boosted experience. Now, I work at a restaurant, and so I don't necessarily get to play on the weekends ever on anything, because I normally work on the weekends. But for most people, it's just a nice little bonus time, and so that's kind of nice, and you get double daily bonus. And so when you log in or whatever, you get the double sign-in, so it'll be like, oh, sign in for at least 30 minutes or whatever. I don't remember exactly what timer it is. Normally when I log into that game, I'm in that game for hours on end, and so I don't actually know any timestamp on that, because I lose all track of time when I play that game. But it has a nice little catch-up mechanic to where it's like on the weekends you can get double daily logins. And so you don't actually have to log in every single day of the month, which is super, super nice. And I think more games should have that. I think that's how they should work. I think they should have countdown timers or something along those lines, where it's like, oh, hey, you've signed in this many times. And they should have catch-up mechanics. So it's like, just because not everyone has time. And I just hate the idea that every single game is demanding that you log in every single day. Like just turn on the game every single day. It's like, but I don't want to. Like, it's just, that's not having fun, in my opinion. That's kind of pushing things towards what the AAA market is kind of turning everything into, which is a job. And it's like, oh, hey, it's a job that you actually pay for. Everything is getting super grindy. Everything has an RPG element. Everything has randomized loot. It's just, God, it's so frustrating. If I want randomized loot, I'm going to go play Phantasy Star or Monster Hunter or something like that. God damn it, I want Monster Hunter on PC. I don't want to go and play freaking Battlefront and then have my randomized loot and just see if I can actually play a competitive shooter any better than anybody else when they're going to have invulnerability while flying. I'm sorry, I don't want to log in every day, so I have the chance to end up getting a small little box that might end up giving me an advantage, or it'll give me a useless item that gives me a small amount of credits that I would have ended up getting to unlock Darth Vader instead of spending 42 hours plus on the game. I don't even spend 42 hours on like any game these days. But regardless, that's kind of my thoughts on daily logins and why they kind of suck, because it's not necessarily what they give you and what it kind of bonuses to people that end up getting them, because people that log in every day on a game and they're really dedicated to it probably never notice a problem. And it's like, hey, you know, it's just a nice little reward to reward people. And I think that's awesome that you can reward people for logging in. However, expecting everyone to log in every single day to get those rewards is a little bit much. And I think that more games should have catch-up mechanics. I think that's where I'm going with this. More games should make it so that they're not expecting you to log in every single day. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, and I really think that everyone else should too, unless you play literally one game and that's it, which is fine. But you also have to realize that not everyone only plays one game. I think that there's more room for that. And even if you only play one game, you can't log in every day. I know people that only play League of Legends, and they log into League of Legends like once a week. They don't play video games. They play League of Legends, and they're not particularly great at it, but still, regardless. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this one. Sorry, this was kind of just like an off-the-cuff video to where I'm like, I want to talk about it because it's just on my mind. I'm really tired and have no mental cohesion? No. Cognitive? I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. Yeah, my brain isn't functional enough to actually think of anything else right now, and so that's kind of what I'm going off of. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, like I said, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And oh my god, I'm so sick of freaking dying. Can you just die already?